Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. A ruined dinner. I was with my girlfriend preparing dinner. The year was 2015. Everything seemed normal. I put on some music and the speakers were in my room. While we were cooking, I noticed that the music was no longer being listened to. I was surprised that something happened with the internet because it was Spotify. I went to the bedroom and I noticed that the playlist continued, but the volume knob had been set to 0. I didn't pay much attention to it at that moment. I set the knob again and went to the kitchen to continue with dinner. Not even 2 minutes passed when again I noticed that no music was being heard. This time it seemed something strange to me. I lived alone and we were just my girlfriend and I. I went to my room and this time the knob was on 1 so I could lightly hear some music. I was surprised because it was a physical and not digital fault. Again, I turned the knob and returned to the kitchen. I tried not to think about that and concentrate on cooking, when suddenly I clearly heard things on the floor, this time in the studio that was right next to my room. It bothered me the idea of passing by these things instead of enjoying a pleasant evening with my girlfriend. I asked her if she had heard that sound and she said no. I replied that it was clearly a noise from the studio, so she told me let's take a look. In effect, there were things on the floor. I wanted to think that it had simply fallen. We picked them up, turned off the lights and left. We were in the kitchen again when we heard another noise. This time she could also appreciate it. I told her something is happening and she, being a very religious person, told me not to worry. We went to the studio and this time the light was on and there were again some things thrown away. There were no open windows or wind currents. It seemed very strange to us. We lifted everything and before leaving I pronounced aloud that I will leave the light on and we retired kind of nervous. We had not reached the kitchen when noises were heard again. This time I was really afraid that it was a thief who had entered the house. We ran to the study and the light was off and a TV that was there was on with static. We looked at each other and I told her that it was not normal, that something was happening and we should do something. She proposed to pray. We went to the kitchen, she took my hands, we said 2 prayers that she knew and when we finished something was heard again. I wanted to go see, but I was shocked to see that just outside the kitchen there was an inflatable toy that I used to have to punch for fun on the studio. It was horrible. I had no idea how it got there. I felt very scared. I did not know if it was something paranormal or a person entered the house and he was playing us the worst joke ever. My girlfriend asked me what was wrong with me, why I stood at the door. I told her not to leave the kitchen, that I did not want her to see that. But she leaned out and screamed. I tried to calm her down. Nothing had ever happened in that house. We were very scared and at the moment the bell rang. I answered on the intercom and nothing. Every time I was more nervous, but I tried to stay calm. I walked towards her and the bell rang again. I answered and nothing. I told her let's get out of here. Something or someone is bothering us. It occurred to me to go to the house of a cousin who lived nearby and then the lights started to blink. It was horrible. Getting to the street was a great relief and by the way it was completely desolate. We walked a few blocks until we reached my cousin's house. We told her everything while our hands were still shaking. She believed us and said she had some holy water and that we had to go back because what had happened to us was not normal. When we came back with the holy water, you could hear loud music from the street. We opened the door with fear and immediately my cousin began to sprinkle holy water all over the place. The inflatable toy was in another place. It seemed that it had moved a few meters from where we saw it last time. The knob of the speakers was at maximum and all the lights in the house were on. It seemed that they had a small party without us. It was horrible. Note, on the Spotify browser was written reggaeton and the first playlist was playing. I hate reggaeton music. I never put that kind of music before. I even don't know how it spells, but was written the same way I used to know it. Reggaeton. That was shocking. I was never skeptic to the paranormal, but I did not believe everything I heard until that night. For my good luck, I can say that after using the holy water, nothing else happened in that house. I no longer lived there. I threw the toy, and that girlfriend is now my wife, and we know that all that was real. These spirits and entities exist, and we must be careful, have faith in God, and not let them disturb us. I hope I did not bore you, and sorry for my English. Greetings from Quito, Ecuador. Thank you, Fox Dust, the author. Worst paranormal experience. Alright, this is an encounter I had with a spirit quite a few times. At the time of the series of events, I was a sophomore in high school. I have a friend who could drive. I couldn't at the time. And he would drive me to his place on almost every weekend, and I would stay the night, and he would drive me back on Sunday. He lives with his parents, but has a man cave he sleeps in, which is a giant shed that he made really cool. It was huge. It was split in two. Half was a garage, and the other half was a giant room. This is all separated from the main house, with a pool in between. Also, just to put out there, that every time I start telling people about this story, I get very giddy, and sometimes I even shiver, and I'm not even cold. The end of the story is kinda sad, but here is how it went. All started with my friend Cole, really funny guy, but also a bit crazy. I really only talked to him during my lunch, and then after school on Xbox. He decided that I should hang out at his place over the weekend, suddenly, and I agreed. So I went, and we had a blast. Nothing out of the ordinary with that visit. At some point in time, he did mention that all the friends he had over usually say that they feel like they're being watched, and some have even said that they have seen figures in the windows of the shed. About 5 or so of our other friends have said that his shed had some sort of paranormal activity, but little did I know I would have the worst of it. He proposed that next time I come over, I should bring an EMF and try to see if anything was there. I told him I had one from a ghost tour I took in Las Vegas a year before. I brought it, and little did you know, nothing. So I just told Cole that our friends were full of it. I go a third time, and this is when things start to paint a picture. This time, we brought another friend of ours who has never been to his place. The first signs of anything paranormal that I later confirmed was sometimes when I was playing the Xbox, it would randomly shut off. It was kinda weird since it only happened to me, but I thought nothing of it. Later that day, while me and the other two were just playing a game of pool, we hear an alarm go off outside of his house. We go and investigate. We find the source, and it was some sort of motion detector that was connected to his shed. It looked like it was wired to the wall, but also had a solar panel on. The wire was cut off, but we assumed it was running on solar. We found it odd that this would start randomly going on and off throughout the rest of the night. We were woken up by the alarm in the morning. This is about the time I start to think that just maybe this could be paranormal, but I just brushed it off. Same thing with the alarm and the Xbox on this day. Next weekend, I go again. This time it was happening way more often. Cole said that this was bizarre because it was happening when I was there the weekend before and stopped on Sunday afternoon when he dropped me off at my house, and it never happened again during the week. I thought something had to be up. I actually have 2 videos of both of these occurrences on my old phone that I need to upload. This weekend, Skid got serious. This may sound crazy, but I propose that if there is a spirit here, can you turn on the Xbox? It turned on. I was shocked and chills went down my spine. My friend was a little unaffected. I thought that he had a controller hidden behind his back, so I made him stand up in front of me and I said to turn the Xbox off. It turned off. This is the moment I knew there was something there. I decided to ask a series of questions. Turning the Xbox on or off would be yes, and doing nothing would be no. After a few questions or so, what I got out of it was that whatever it was a male, and it did not want me there. Supposedly, it did not want to harm me either. This time I only stayed over for 1 day because I had a wrestling tournament I had to go to on Sunday. Me, being the dumbass I am, kept going over to his place because we had lots of fun together. The next weekend I went would be my last, and ever since, I refused to go back. At this point, Cole could be playing Xbox, and when he handed me the controller, it just immediately turned off. No matter how many times I tried to play, I just couldn't. It was around dawn and Skit just started hitting the fan. To this day, I don't know why, but Cole still believes that his shed isn't haunted. Every time he would leave me in the shed to go to get something, I would sit still and silently freak out, hoping for him to get back soon. This is how bad I was freaked out. He was gone for only 5 minutes, and it felt like an eternity. I was sitting still on the couch singing to myself to try and calm me down, when the door sounded like it got hit by a battering ram. This happened a few times. I got up, ran to the corner of the room and pulled out a pocket knife I had. I have never been this scared in my life. It stopped, and then next, a bag of chips fly off a table. I just sat down and started praying. No ducking joke. He eventually got back and saw me holding a knife sitting in the corner, half sobbing. He was like, "What the F happened to you?" I told him about it, and for the rest of the time I was there, I refused to be in a room without him in it. Roughly an hour later, when I calmed down, the door started getting bashed again. Cole this time pulled his knife and went to the door. He opened it just as one of the slams happened, and behold, nothing there. He then proceeded to go out and look at around, and I quickly followed, not wanting to be in the shed alone. We find nothing, although we do see that there were dents in the outside of the door. When we get back inside, I'm questioning him, asking if he thinks that his shed is haunted. He still refused and thought that I was doing some prank BS. I was very concerned, what the hell kind of drug is he on, not to think anything of it. Later I use his shower. He has a bathroom in the shed too. I get out, Cole is on the Xbox and I'm getting dressed in the corner. Next thing I know, all the lights go out. I have a small panic attack and immediately bolt for the door, only wearing my underwear with the half pulled up pair of shorts. Cole comes out and asks me what the F did I do. I just told him I was putting on clothes, which was obvious. I literally hold on to him like a little bee while he maneuvers over to the breaker while we only use a phone flashlight. Apparently the spirit popped the breaker. I was just so done at that point where I asked him to just drop me off at my house, but he said no because it was already midnight. Later we watched YouTube and eventually just started looking at our phones. We were using the Xbox YouTube app. I skid you not, the screen started scrolling through videos until it found some weird puppet music video skit that got darker as the song went on. I had no idea what to do, knowing that something obviously doesn't want me there and I can't leave. I decide to pull up a message keyboard and then the ducking square on the screen started moving over the letters to spell get out. I felt so powerless. Getting out was the only thing I wanted to do. Later in the night, right before I go to bed, Cole is sleeping at this time. I get up to get some water and hear a loud ass hiss and I bust my ass backwards. I said duck it and slept outside. 57 degrees out and it was so much better than being scared skitless. Although I barely got any sleep, it was morning and I'm begging Cole to get my ass home. I wait in his truck while he gets his things. His truck is on the other side of the shed and it's separated by one big wall with two doors on each side. When he gets in the car, he started yelling at me why I was banging on the two doors connected to each side of the shed. Note that the doors are at least 20 feet apart. He dropped me off and sadly since then we have barely spoken. We were good friends and even to today he believes that there was no paranormal activity and that it was me doing everything. Barely anyone I tell this to believes me. Most people say that I was just pranked or something like that. But then well no, it was real. I have had some minor paranormal encounters in the past, but this was the one that I will never forget. Anyway, that's the worst paranormal encounter I have ever gone through, and I hope some people who read this will believe me. Also, sorry for bad paragraph formation. Thank you Total for Mayhem, the author. Thank you for watching everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please, be safe.